Welcome back to another exciting interview by your host, Brian Klein, on this wonderful Humanastory evening. Earlier on the 10th of October, we spoke with Mark Sargent about flat earth theories, and I must say it was amazing, and yes, a part of humanity's thought process from around the world. We stood in awe of how brilliant humanity is and how people think. And while we are constantly bombarded by mass media of how awful the world can be, we at Humanastory seek out those who are willing to brave the craziness that we call life, to share their story with us and humanity. I will be joined by Christina, the woman that makes my adventures come true, and by Mark, whom over the years, like mold on a wall, grows on you with time. Today in our sights we have Alex Hillman, the good guy biker. Short of finding out where he sleeps and what color his underwear is, we will find out what it takes to make him tick. We will find out if he's real or if he's faking it, and we will find out if he is the good guy biker. You can log into our website, going to humanastory.com, under Listen Live Prevents, and you can talk to us directly right now, or you can Twitter us, because everyone likes Twitter, at Humanastory. That's HUMANASTORY. And you have to put that little ampersand sign there, too, so... Okay, so we have an announcement. The first announcement I'm going to make is, what's up from your response video? My wife is famous. My upcoming interview with Humanastory, vlog number 22. You also wanted me to attack you harder, and I need to point out it's London, Ontario. He gave me that little correction after the promo was made. So right now we have Alex Hillman on the line. Alex, go ahead and say hi, my friend.
How's it going, Brian? It's lovely to be here.
Oh, I know. It's always lovely to be with me. No, I'm just kidding. Okay,
Before we get started, though, I gotta ask. So, are you sold on the flat Earth yet? I want to know.
Why do you have to bring? You know what? I wasn't gonna ask what color your underwear was, but since we can,
I gotta ask.
I did put it up there. It's in the promo. You'll understand it when you hear the post editing. Okay. It's I'm on the fence. I know Mark Sargent's going to try to pull me off, but to be perfectly honest about the whole flat earth theory, I mean, it's hard to get rid of the ingrained thoughts that have been pushed on you since birth. And, you know, I honestly didn't think about it until he mentioned that you're told this, you get 1 + 1 is 2, you get the world is round. And I didn't think about it until he said something. And the only reason why I even say this is because now I see it everywhere. He's an asshole. I'm going to get even with you, Mark.
He's turned you into a cynical conspiracist?
Yeah, I don't know yet. I don't know. It's hard to say no, but stop and think about it. If you wanted to know anything about space, where do you go? The only people that give you any information about space is the U.S. government, or I guess in this case, your Canadian government. There's no outside external government influence. So how do you know? In his own words, how do you know?
It is exactly what we were told, and that's all.
That's it. You know as much as the government wants you to know, and we're probably being pinged by DOD now.
But you know what? I think that the good guy biker could strap a GoPro to a weather balloon, and we could find that answer out eventually, couldn't we?
Yeah, that's what we'll do. Okay.
After the next video.
Well, I have to do another one with him because I wanted to touch on the whole religion thing. Because there is a huge religious aspect to the whole flat earth theory. But again, I want to stress this. He doesn't use the word flat earth. In fact, flat earthers hate him. They can't stand that. They just don't like him because he uses the word enclosed world, which is completely different, and it sounds a lot smoother. I got to give the man credit. He was real professional when we did his interview.
He was very good, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so since we're talking about you, I guess the first question on everybody's mind, since I said it in the promo, what color underwear are you wearing? No, I'm kidding. I don't want to know.
Hey, we can live stream this.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you're going to get a copy of this promo anyways. You're going to get a copy of this radio broadcast. So.
I mean, the underwear.
Yeah, well, I don't want to know your underwear. You have a wife, right? Right? Isn't she doing?
She's a nice lady.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. Okay. So, all right. So, transparency is important, and as you know, those who do things in darkness of night have a lot to hide. I mean, that's what I've noticed anyway. And those who do things in the light of day are usually morally open. Tell us a little about yourself. Not the good guy biker. Tell us about Alex. Who is Alex? Who was Alex as a kid?
Who was Alex? Well, I grew up in London, Ontario, a small Canadian town, southern Ontario. It's about as American as any other Canadian town can be.
Okay, how can a Canadian town be American?
Well, we had car plants,
I'm kidding.
Industrial factories, and it was stone throw from the border. So we grew up going across down to Florida and Michigan all the time. Small family, twin brother, younger sister. Grew up in the tech world. My father was one of the first people involved with the technology in Ontario, southern Ontario, cell phones and fax machines, pagers. So I've always taken an interest in the technological aspect of things, which has really, I guess, come to fruition later in life here. I've found a lot of it very useful. As you'll see in a lot of my different videos, we talk a lot about how to use technology to your advantage. Later in life, I took degrees in computer sciences. I've got my Cisco certification for networking, and I've gone back to school 4 different times, mostly for interest purposes, everything from photography to philosophy, and all the other letters of the alphabet. So it's a lot of fun. I enjoy learning, and I enjoy growing, and I enjoy trying to spend my time doing exactly what I want. And that's pretty much always been me. I have early memories of myself as young as 7 and 8 years old, where my father would ask me to shovel the driveway and offer me $15. And so I would pay the neighbor's kid $10 to shovel the driveway and continue making my snowman.
Exactly.
And
does that sound like a good guy biker thing? Wait a minute.
Well, no, but see, I know that sounds funny, but what ends up happening is 3 weeks later, you fast forward, I got all the kids in the neighborhood making money, and we're going, whatever you guys think it's worth. We're not offering prices. And all the kids in the neighborhood had sweet new bikes and all the Pokemon cards they could ever want. So, you need that entrepreneur to kind of create those opportunities.
Well, yeah,
and even at 7 years old, I didn't realize that's what I was doing. And,
So you've always liked business is basically what you're going at here.
Yeah, I've always liked business, and I always end up back in sales. I've taken so many computer sciences classes and so many certifications, and I'm so specialized in so many areas. But the thought of working or in communication with just a computer or an inanimate object all day, it's just so boring. So I always ended up some kind of sales or some kind of promotional work.
Okay, so you've always been in promotional work, and what about personally? I mean, I know you talk highly of your sister. At least when you wrote me, you were mentioning you were stressing on how your sister was important to you. I guess the question here is touch on a little bit about that. Why was she so important to you? And you have a twin brother too. Yeah.
So my brother and my sister were both very, very available growing up. I found that Annie gravitated to a different crowd of people than myself, and that gave me, she hung out with the basketball players and the gang stars and the 50 centers and these guys, and it gave me an opportunity to kind of experience a lot of other niches. As I left Ontario, my sister stayed there, and unfortunately, I don't know if she'd want me to talk about this, but some circumstances came into her life that weren't very positive for her, and she ended up in the hospital, and we ended up having to bring her out to BC to get her away from some bad relationships. And she went into rehab and she got cleaned up. And, as far as we can tell, she's put some of these people out of her life. And I can't think of someone more inspiring in my life, really.
Well, that would fit the Humanastory profile. I mean, after all, Humanastory is about overcoming, your problems. We try,
she's
like I said, we try to, Yeah, she would be one we'd want to talk to if she'd ever want to. You could probably talk to her about it. And even for those, people that want to submit their stories, they can submit them too. The interviews are kind of hard to do, but we try to interview when we can. The question I have for you now is how did you become the Good Guy Biker? What I'm getting at, and this question is kind of important. I don't want to know how you became the Good Guy Biker. What I want to know is what event in your life. When did you decide, when did you say to yourself, hey, I want to be a Good Guy Biker? And do you have anything in your past? What kind of person were you? Were you bad? Did you do bad things? I know you were talking about an interview. The interview that you had done with someone else when you had spoken to me a few days ago was this guy drilled you about how negative your past is. And what do you think on that? What are your thoughts?
Well, okay. So as we'll start with the past comment first. As any 16-year-old man knows very, very surely, I had it all figured out. And I thought that partying and womanizing and just generally being a unthoughtful young man was the way to go. And we got into things like graffiti and, breakdancing, and we got into a lot of different social engineering and computer hacking and all sorts of things that, looking back
bad things.
Well, I was never a malicious person, I don't think, but I've definitely done my fair share of things I regret, certainly. And that has always kind of affected me. Some of those things have always stuck with me, always been something I regretted. And more recently, in the last 3 years, I was more involved with charity and more involved with nonprofits for the first time in many years. First time probably in about 8 or 9 years. And I really found the people involved with that and the organizations really motivating, and really there wasn't a lot of bullshit. Everyone was just very kind of genuine. Genuine is the word I'll use. My father was promoting some charity motorcycle rides out of his Vespa scooter shop here in Vancouver, Granville Island, and we were involved with a lot of different charity rides, the music ride for Cure and the toy run for the kids' toys.
Well, we're going to touch on all that here in a second. I want to do is give everyone a background of what kind of person you were and how. I get what I want to know now is what event in your life took place that made you, I don't know, was it tragic? What made you turn into the Good Guy Biker? What aspect of the Good Guy Biker, how did you...
There's always been aspects of it. This type of behavior has always been something I've done all my life, even back to being a young child at the beach. It's the most defining moment I can say is the first time that full, hour and a half video of the charity ride went viral. The first time someone took that clip and put it on Reddit, and it went to Faith in Humanity Restored and Random Acts of Kindness and Karma and all these different areas.
Viral, well, not to cut you off, I'm just going to cut you off real quick. When you say viral, you mean not just on YouTube. You're talking all the other social medias as well.
Right, but initially, before it went to the news stations, before it went to the TV shows and all those types of things, it went to the internet, and I saw about 40,000 view jump overnight from something that was just a couple hundred. And then the emails and the messages started coming, and that's really what did it for me. And I know that sounds funny, but to this day, I still get dozens of messages from people every single day talking about how they've been motivated, how they've been inspired, what they're about to go do. And that stuff. Those
people to come to us. We have a lot of room for this.
We've made a lot. Don't worry, I've been talking about you guys all week. But that positivity in my life, those people, just that impact on others with such a small part on mine. That is what created the Good Guy Biker. That was the moment.
And that's why we got in touch with you, is because when we saw the video, it falls in line with who we are. Like I said, Humanastory is about the people that have overcome adversity. Basically, that's what it is. And how do you... Because you get a lot of people... Yeah, it does.
At about the age of 21, 22, I moved out west because things were getting bad in Ontario. And I'll say this very upfront. It was taking about 2 cop cars to pull me over. They'd pull me over, and then they'd wait for a backup. And so sometimes I'd sit there and I'd listen to Zeppelin 2 before they even came and talked to me. So it was time for me to leave and kind of put things back in place.
Well, now, do you think it's just because you're getting older?
Well, leaving my hometown, I think, was the biggest part of that. And then the next thing was meeting my wife, meeting Lauren 8-9 years ago. Her coming into my life has always made me a better person. So that's probably, if you're wondering how to do it, just find a nice girl that makes you a better person. That's the easy way.
Yeah, I've got one. Yeah, okay. So again, I want to stress that the stuff that he's talking about, guys, is stuff that happened about a decade ago. Okay, so this isn't stuff that's recent.
12 years ago.
Okay, 12 years ago. All right, so you're becoming old. What do you want from me? Okay, so I guess the next question I have is when did it become reality for you? When did you say, I'm going to be a good biker, and then become the good biker?
Well, I think the not random acts of kindness, the deliberate acts of kindness kind of is when it started. When we started going out with the intention of doing something kind, and that radar kind of turned on the proximity. I started seeing opportunities to help people all around me all the time. And the only problem is you just don't always have a camera with you. So the stuff on the motorcycle was really... Again, I really didn't change the behavior. I just kind of started putting the videos up.
So, I have a question about that, too, because we had a question come in about the cameras, and it was supposed to be under motivation, but it sounds kind of like right now. Do you wear the camera for safety, or is it something that you wear when you're actually going out and doing stuff? Because I know a lot of bikers wear the cameras now because of the craziness on the roads.
Yeah, so in 2008, I was actually hit and run by 4 young men in an SUV intentionally. It's a pretty horrific story. They swerved into me, and I went over on a motorcycle, went over the curb into a grocery store parking lot.
Is this the incident that
No, this is hit and run. This is not the.
Oh, because I'm going to touch on that in a minute. I want to.
Yeah. So the motivation for the camera is after being hit and run, and then they waited for me, and I don't sleep with people's wives. I don't sell drugs. I was brand new to Vancouver. I'm a nice guy. There's no reason for people to be hitting me off my motorcycle. But when I stood up after they hit me, they actually put me over the hood of their car. They stopped and then hit me with their. I jumped and went over the windshield, and I have all this on camera. If you want to see the hit and run video, it's in the beginning of the Bad Drivers series. It's the very first video, the very first clip. And that after that day, that was the very first day I had got a camera for my birthday, April 8th, 2008. And it was a pretty serious way to end my birthday. And after realizing that the police barely cared, even without the video, I would never, ever get on a motorcycle again, ever, without a camera. And to this day, I always have a camera running, and I always bring extra batteries.
Okay, so tell us about your first experience when you became the Good Guy Biker. Tell us about that first experience. What?
So
what went through your head? I mean, that's got to be scary. Again, the first time. Tell us about that.
So we were on a club ride, the Black Cloud, I think they call them here, and there's local scooter group. And we were doing a charity ride, probably about 30 of us, about 20 of us. A lot of really good people. During the ride, about 10 minutes into the ride, I came upon a blind man that was walking in the road. And he was in the corner at the end of our main street here in Vancouver. And it just didn't seem right to me. But what was really upsetting was there was people walking by and people running by, and there was, dozens scooters and motorcycles in front of me. No one stopped. And without even thinking about any of that, I just turned around and help the man, like, you know, anyone that realized what was going on, I think, or I hope, would do. That was pretty uneventful for a long time. It didn't really even resonate with me until the internet kind of grabbed hold of it, and that is really the moment that went viral, put me on the news. You know, the shows like CNN and Ellen and all these shows were talking about the incident, calling me the Canadian good guy biker, and at the same time, a Victoria rider on Vancouver Island, another motorcycle rider here in Vancouver, pulled over and helped a handicapped woman who had her electric wheelchair stuck in a garden. So it was nice to see the Canadian boys go out for something good. And anytime the motorcycling community can get that better perspective, it's always good. It's incredible how bad bikers' perspective. You know, we go down in the States and some places close their doors, won't even let us rent rooms because we're simply on motorcycles. And my experience with motorcyclists have been that they are some of the kindest, most helpful, most welcoming, most charitable people you'll ever meet in your life.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. So I want to make this clear. It's a scooter or biker gang?
So the Black Cloud is a scooter gang.
Okay. All right.
That is exactly what they are. I actually disagreed with some of that, and they started using 1%er patches and like generals. They started wearing all the insignia that's similar to what you see with the bike gangs. Yeah. And I just kind of said, hey, guys, do we really want to be promoting that kind of crap here in Vancouver? Nobody wants to be riding around seeing some 1%er captain patch on the back of some guy's leather jacket, scooter or not, you know?
Okay.
And that was a disagreement we had, and that was the last time I associated myself with those guys.
Oh, so you're no longer with them? No longer talking?
Oh, no, it just, you know, I hate to be a dick about it, but a bunch of grown men on scooters pretend to be in a gang.
Yeah. Yeah.
Power to them. He sold Vespas, and he met some
it's a funny picture. I'm not laughing at it. It is kind of funny, really.
We sold scooters for many years, and again, incredible people. You know, everyone from Michael Bublé to the 100-year-old grandmother from England. You know, and these people have all some of the nicest people we've ever met. And just something about these guys that modify them and wear these leather jackets that kind of, you know, rubbed me a little wrong. They didn't really seem to do the whole good guy biker thing, you know?
But you know what? There's a biker gang that deals with Disneyland. So, I mean, they literally wear Disneyland patches all over their leather jackets, and they're all Harley Davidson. So, you know, people do the weirdest things. Mm-hmm. So it's not something...
It's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting ride on this little rock we call Earth. All right, so in a more recent video, how to break into any modern safe, 3 attack methods, hack the world. There's mention of both your arms being broken. In several other videos, you talk about an accident that occurred. What happened?
Okay, February 27th, my life changed forever, and it was all right before the wedding. I was doing some motorcycling for enjoyment. I was on my dirt bike, the BMW G650 X Country. It's a dual sport motorcycle. We had dirt bike tires on it. And I took it out to Tsawwassen, which is an area near where we are. It's got some trails right on the waterfront. There's shared trails, horse trails, dirt bike trails. Beautiful, beautiful ride around took an hour ride along the ocean, like literally 3 feet from the ocean, up and down this trail, just enjoying myself. And on the way home, I was coming over an overpass. It went over top of a highway and a train track. And a young man was in front of me, quite a distance, I'd say maybe 10 trucks lengths. But he pulled over and stopped at the bottom of the bridge, on the bridge. He stopped and pulled over. And as I went by him, he didn't use any indicators, and he obviously didn't look. He made a U-turn. And in the video, we see that, you know, he didn't make any signals. And you can see in the slow motion, because I had the GoPro on, he wasn't aware of me until I was about 3 feet from the car. So I remember it very vividly. It's certainly been haunting me quite a bit. but he turned across me and I hit his car. My right arm broke in half a dozen places.
Now, is this being the good guy biker? This is during that time.
Yeah, this is in February. We had Good Guy Biker GoFundMe things going, and we were about to go down to California and shoot a big production with a company and do all these random acts of kindness, and we had a lot of stuff on the go, and it kind of put a halt to everything. This all happened literally 3 months before my wedding. So when I hit the car, I don't want to speculate on speed. The speedometer, there's a lot of people make comments in my videos. They think I'm going a lot faster than I am. But because we've changed the size of the wheel and the dirt bike tire, it actually reads much faster than it is. So if I'm doing about 100, it'll suggest I'm doing closer to 115 or 120. So I don't want to... The engineers are going over the videos, and this has gone to the lawyers, and it's become a whole big deal now because of how bad the injuries have been. So they'll tell us what the speeds are.
Yeah, you don't want to say too much on the radio if you're actually going through a court, because I'm sure somebody's like, ooh. Yeah, we don't want to...
Oh, and you know what? On that note, I've had them following me. I've walked up to the cameras and said hi and introduced myself, and it scares the shit out of these investigators, but it's just... I can handle this because I'm someone who's familiar with these types of procedures, but someone like my wife or someone like your wife might not be comfortable being stalked for 2-3 weeks at a time.
So they're stalking your wife as well, huh?
Well,
I imagine they're doing every aspect of your life.
Yeah, anything they can get their hands on, and it's been excessive to say the least. But we'll let that go. So what happened when we hit the car? Because I was holding onto the brake trying to slow down, the impact through my right arm was much worse. So my wrist broke into 6 pieces, literally. My forearm broke in 2 places. I think I want to say the ulnar broke, or the humerus broke. The elbow shattered. I tore, I want to say, ligaments in my elbow. I flew about 40 feet through the air and landed on my back. And let me stress, I have this all on video. All of this will go on the Good Guy Bikers channel. But it has to wait, so appreciate that. So concussion, some interesting things that happened during the accident. Fortunately, the young man and his girlfriend stopped. We later were told by the police officer that because there's no side roads there and there's no houses there, the only place he could have been turning, because he wasn't turning a U-turn onto the bridge, he was going across and down the side of the bridge. And the officer told us he was probably going to go smoking pot. There's a spot there where all the kids smoke pot under the train bridge. And the cop says the only reason people go down there is to get stoned. And so it's unfortunate that, that might be the reason that this all happened. He didn't look and just trying to get to a hangout. But the police officer, what's really interesting, the camera came off the helmet, went down the road, and thankfully to the driver and his girlfriend, they went and got it for me and put it back with me. That is private property. It's personal property. The ambulance showed up, put me in the ambulance. We put the camera in my pocket. The police officer asked 3 times. This is Tawasin. This is the Delta Police Municipal Force. And this is something that I've taken enough law to understand. This is bizarre. He asked me 3 times for the camera. And I said no. Because I understand I'll give it to my lawyer if there's need for it, He then asked the ambulance driver twice for the camera. The ambulance driver asked me twice. I said no. He then waited until I passed out. So I was conscious for about 15 minutes. During the 30 minutes I was unconscious, he came into the ambulance, physically went in my zipped up pocket, took the camera out of my pocket, and then did not inform me that he took the camera. He then has since, without any permission from myself or from my lawyer, he's emailed that to not only my American extended insurance company, but also the local ICBC government-run insurance company here.
Wow.
I'm not worried about that.
You know what? So yeah, let's be careful as to what we talk about that. I was just curious as to what happened to the accident. I don't want this to infringe on your.
I'm motivated. I'm a little upset about some of this stuff. So there's been some interesting going-ons, to say the least. But we went to the hospital. I was not conscious for about 2 days. Came to, they reconstructed the right arm a few times, but initially they made some mistakes, and I won't go into it too much, but they didn't tighten both sides of the elbow. They only tightened one side, and the splint I had wasn't a perfect 90 degrees. So a few weeks later, it got worse. The elbow dislocated, and all the tendons in the arm went to mush. So I've now had 7 surgeries on my right arm. There's talk of an 8th and possibly a 9th surgery. This is just to regain normal function. I'm still not really weight bearing on either.
So
and
do you
they're
have, like, pins and rods in your arms, or is it?
Yeah, so I've got plates and pins and things, all sorts of things in my arm. But primarily, they actually
So I'm thinking maybe not the good guy biker, but the bionic man.
Oh, that's the end of one of the vlogs about that. Yeah, we threw the bionic. We can reconstruct him, we can make him better.
Humanastory is the story of humanity, one person at a time. We believe each person has a story to tell, and each story shapes that person into who they are today. Collectively, and more importantly, each and every person's story shapes this little blue rock we call home. We are all together whether we like it or not. We also believe that your unique story might just help someone else traveling down your pathway in life. You might be their guide through this rough time. We are always looking for more exciting stories to share with the world. If you've got one, come share it with us today. Okay, so we are back. We're talking about your accident.
Yes.
And what occurred there. We want to watch what we say because we don't want those wonderful lawyers on the other side to twist things around. We all know how lawyers love to twist.
No, I was just telling Brian I'm actually a fairly open book on my channel about most of these things. I was talking about how some of this stuff can really, really get to people. Fortunately, I'm not letting it get to me. But one of the biggest tribulations through the whole healing process was actually the medication they put me on. So they had given me heavy narcotics. They put me on methadone, believe it or not. And I don't know if all the viewers listening are familiar with what methadone is, but it's something that's generally used for drug rehabilitation. Think of a government-prescribed heroin and things of that nature. It's very much how it's used. And it was the only drug that was stopping the pain in my arm, the nerve pains. I was unaware of what they were giving me. But I tell you, you see it in those movies, people shaking and sweating and withdrawing from drugs. For about a week, I was as bad as you've seen it in any movie, without my wife helping me. It was an incredibly tough thing to come off of. So even at my wedding day, we were on so many painkillers. It's really unfair that this happened, but life goes on.
There's a lot of issues that went on with it. We're talking about the good guy biker. And we're speaking with Alex Hillman. For those of you that are just tuning in, I want to know. I guess let's move on to the motivation behind the good guy biker. I mean, there's a lot of your past, and there's a lot of stuff there that you're working through even now. I'd imagine that you're still not healed 100%.
No, many more surgeries to come.
Yeah, that's usually how it's going to work. Okay, so behind every good idea, there's a lot of motivation, but remember that old phrase, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So I guess what's your motivation for doing this? Why do you want to be the good guy biker? I mean, obviously, a lot of stuff has happened in your past, but why do you want to be the good guy biker?
Well, most of my life I've been pretty inconsequential. I've just been another man, standing in a room with everybody else. And for the first time in my life, I seem to have a voice that really spreads, really has the ability to change the minds of people. And seeing that for the first time in my life, seeing that I can be a force of good instead of a force for myself, that is the real reason behind all of it. Knowing that more people will see this, will hear this, will relate to these stories, these traumas, these events, and they will go out and strive to be better for people themselves. It upsets me that this, and I do want to mention this. It really upsets me that the things that I do are restore people's, as they say, faith in humanity or make them cry, because this should be normal stuff, guys. You see a blind person lost in the road, pull the heck over and help them. You see someone having a hard day, go up and have a conversation with them. This is really simple human stuff. This is 101. We all know this. Why don't we act that way? Why is it such a big deal?
So how did it go viral, and how did you end up on the news? I mean, you ended up on the news, right?
A few different times, yeah. It went viral. Some guy posted it on Reddit in Faith in Humanity Restored. And that section, and Karma sections, and the Random Acts of Kindness sections, and it just blew up. 3 or 4 times it's gone viral. It went well over 5 million views on one of our other channels that we got shut down. So this is all new viewership here in the last 2 years that we see here. It's on dozens of different websites, and lots of those websites have well over 2-3 million views. And that, if you compare something like an ad in the Super Bowl, cost you millions of dollars, and you see how many millions of people are going to see that. The cost for that is exponential. And then you think about how many people have sat there and watched 40 seconds of The Good Guy Biker. You can't even. It's hard to think about that as far as a cost efficiency.
Does your family actually help you with this project?
Well, certainly my mother has always been a positive force in my life. She has always been there emotionally for us. She's always been a caregiver, and she's always been a friend. So I've learned a lot of these outward thinking and thoughtfulness and awarefulness from her. And then my father, he's always given me the financial ability to do these types of things. He paid for my many adventures in school, and he's helped when we were in Turkey and we had our bank account robbed by an ATM machine. He helped us survive until we got everything settled. So he enables us, whereas my mother really gives me the things to think about, and having them around is without them I couldn't do this. I couldn't have spent 4 or 5 years trying to have my own business, trying to work for myself. Just wouldn't have had that opportunity.
Oh wow, okay. So
yeah,
you do a lot of world traveling?
Oh, constantly. Yeah, we try to get away at least 3-4 months a year.
Oh wow.
We have for many years now.
Oh wow. Okay. Where have you been? What places have you gone?
Well, let's go backwards. Last summer we spent in South America. My wife and I, we did Peru and Ecuador specifically. We were going to do a motorcycle trip through Brazil, but with FIFA going on, it was just too crazy. So we did Machu Picchu, and we did the Amazon jungle and the Galapagos Islands, and we spent 72 hours one day on, or one consecutive 72 hours on a bus. So we don't do this very elegantly, and I don't want to give people the wrong perspective. While we travel, we work very hard. For example, half the time we spent in the Galapagos, we actually were able to stay for free by offering photography to the hotels for their websites, taking photos of for the tours and taking photos of the rooms. Previously we did Mediterranean, and in Mykonos, Greece, I unlocked 30-something people's cell phones, and that I made 400 euros that night. Unlocking cell phones.
Literally, it's like you barter. People
totally.
don't barter anymore. No, it's all about money now.
I clean dishes and clean viruses out of hostile computers and clean dishes in the kitchen for whatever we can get. I try to be as humble about it as possible. But this is what really leads to those magical experiences when you're invited into people's homes and when you're treated like family. All over the world, I've experienced the best of every single country because we open ourselves to that opportunity.
Okay, so then do you feel responsibility to do this, to help out people, to
I think first off, traveling, I feel a responsibility as a Canadian. I certainly feel the need to be a helpful person and to be, we always learn the Canadian quips, we call them, the hellos, the thank yous, the good mornings.
I know what you mean, eh?
Yeah. No, everywhere we go, it's very important to be courteous. That puts you in the best standing right away. But I think this is a calling. I think it's too late to go back now. We're starting a nonprofit. We're a video production company. We've done some free work for some charities again recently, and we've done a lot of promotional work in the past, SEO management and things for charities, nonprofits. I think that's where I'm going to be for the next couple years at least. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know what? So let's touch on current events then, since we're going that way. Tell us, use your blind men in the street. Okay, that's a big one that's gone viral, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about that video concerning the blind men. Basically, where were you where were you within the video? What made you stop and help the man out? Questions like that.
The blind man was the first video. We were doing the group ride with the black. So
it was a charity ride. Everybody was riding together.
Yeah, and
no one stopped.
Well,
no one. Yeah, you guys were riding in a charity ride, and not one person stopped to help the blind man out.
Yeah. Okay. So this is my point, man. This is my point. This is why guys with leather vests and 1%er patches aren't maybe the greatest guys in the world, but. I don't want to bash, because one of the guys on the ride was Robert the Reverend, who we did all our charity rides through. He was every Friday. He was cooking hot dogs up, getting money for charity.
But what's the point in doing the charities if you've got a blind man walking in the street? They all drove past, not wanting to help out. I guess that's one question everyone's going to ask.
Yeah. Why? Okay. So sure, we can take the sinister approach, but I would much rather believe that it's something that people didn't notice. People didn't register it. It's similar to the syndrome.
Never driving by. Yeah.
The New York syndrome, they call it the Mike syndrome.
Nobody was paying attention.
Even if they are paying attention, the brain cuts you off from your frontal lobes. It skips the frontal lobes, and it says, I've made my decision already without your thought process going on. And so people walk by even though someone's getting stabbed in an alley. And I've always been that person to shout up and be like, hey, what's going on? And it's very easy to rally others. Humans have that ability. If you just stand up and no matter what, if you pull over to help the blind man, you'd be surprised how many more people pull over to try and help all of a sudden.
Well, you've got to remember, it's what do they call it? The first follower is actually the leader. So the first person that actually decides to start helping you out, everybody else will follow like water. That's usually
I would agree, happens. Yeah. Once there's a secondary, it's very interesting. So we were on the ride, and there he was in the road, and it really pissed me off that nobody walking by and running by and jogging by and biking by, and nobody stopped. But I didn't think about that at the moment. I turned around, asked him if he needed some help, helped him on his way, got him going, and it did make me a little bit sad because he had a cigarette burn on his jacket, and it kind of made me think how mean people can be.
Which brings me to the next question: is what happened before and after the videotape was running?
Oh, so before we meet up, the full ride's actually available on
basically, what happened before and after, or was the video running the whole time?
Video was running the whole time. Yeah, that's a 40-second clip from a 2-hour video.
Oh, okay.
We started the video at the beginning of the charity ride. He happened to be there when we were getting to the end of Main Street. We rode for another hour and a half after that. That was just, and I never clipped it. I put it up as a full video for the people, the scooter enthusiasts to share with their friends and family. And it had 200 views for the longest time, for a year. It had only 200 views. It wasn't for, it was just Motorcycles Vancouver. I wasn't the good guy biker. That wasn't something I made up. That's what the news crew started calling me. So for a year, it was nothing. And then many other things happened in that same year. I could go back into my folder right now and find dozens of similar incidents that still haven't made it to our page, just because we don't have the money, I don't have the time, the production, I don't have the help.
That's a lot of work.
It's so much. People don't realize I'm currently about 3 weeks behind the video I took on the bus this morning. Yeah, and so the Good Guy Biker stuff. There's a ton more coming, even from way back then. But when it finally when it caught, I realized that it was motivational, and certainly referring to one of the next really viral incidents that caught the thief red-handed. The Good Guy Biker catches the Christmas milk.
We're gonna get into that one in a minute.
So after the rest of the ride, we continued riding. It was a charity ride. I was really excited when I caught up to everybody they didn't slow down at all, by the way.
You could clearly see that. I mean,
right. Just gone, not interested. I
guess my question is, what do you think of those bikers now? I mean, obviously you're no longer with them, so I guess that pretty much sums it up. So tell us more about your videos online.
Right. So that started getting viral, and I realized we might as well get this all uploaded and get these edited. And so instead of these generic, long-running, quiet motorcycle videos, I decided to kind of put some theme and education to them. And I spent some time learning how to use the software. I took some production classes, photography classes at the local college here across the street, and I started cutting up the Good Guy Biker clips. It didn't come to go viral at first, and there was 2 years where we couldn't actually post videos on YouTube because we got banned.
How do you get banned? What did you do?
I made a random act of kindness compilation with a whole ton of random act of kindness videos, and one of those videos was a compilation of security camera footage of people pushing cars off of train tracks and things. And I had asked who I thought was the owner at the time to use that video. It was a woman on YouTube who had put this video up, and she'd given me permission. She encouraged me to use it in the video, just like all the other people who I mentioned. Well, I found out very soon after that it was actually part of a Coca-Cola commercial. And what she had done is she had cut the Coca-Cola branding out of the in between each scene.
Yes.
So it was just the scenes of the acts of kindness. And I thought it was just a lot of them, I guess, finding out later, were staged for Coca-Cola.
It's really sad too, because even if it was something real and the Coca-Cola took claim on it, you think they'd let you use it.
Well, not just that. They actually shut down the channel. They striked us, and they went and they striked a whole ton of our videos. Anything that had even a reference to these videos in it, they make claim to. So I got 3 strikes from them overnight. And while they're promoting random acts of kindness in their commercials, they're taking me down for doing the same thing.
Well, Gandhi has a saying. And I love this. Really a big spiritual guy, but Gandhi does have a saying, and he's been quoted many times on this. At first they ignore you,
then they fight you.
Then they fight you, then they ridicule you, and then you're above them. And that's probably what happened. You probably pissed off Coca-Cola because you're doing something that they don't.
It went to 5 million views.
Yeah, and that's money. That's money to them.
Associated with that.
Yeah, and it's really sad. So tell us more about your videos online. We are curious. Above everything else, was there any time that you went to go help somebody out and it scared you? I mean, you can't imagine that they're all peaceful. Is it scary sometimes, or what?
So on at my old house off of Main Street, I caught. Oh, okay, and I've seen some weird shit. I'm a very observant person, and I'm not afraid to kind of stand up. So we could bring up lots of experiences, but probably one of the scariest ones I ever had was there was 4 guys. All I can say looked like they were breaking into a house in the corner here down the block. And I came home on my motorcycle, and one of them was in the yard, in a gated yard, and the other 3 were in the car. And they just didn't look like they belonged together. It was this older Middle Eastern gentleman, and a Caucasian, and a Chinese guy. It was like a bad joke. Like, I don't mean to make it sound, but it was a really weird group of people, different ages, sitting in this car for about 20 minutes. So I finally rode over on the motorcycle. I knocked on the window and I said, "You guys need a hand." You know, it's
You walked up to him and said, "Do you need a hand?"
all the time, man. I've had guys pull guns on me at stop signs in the neighborhood here because they're driving through alleys, and I follow them. And
you need the money to move, man.
I feel invincible with the camera on. I can't put it any other way.
I can show you some pretty. We've been sent some pretty wicked things here, and one of the things we were sent is a politician taking a picture of his family. And in the corner of that picture, you see a guy pulling out a gun. Yeah.
Getting assassin.
Yes. You better be careful with that.
Well, Well, we live in Canada, so gun crime here isn't as bad as it is.
Come here to do that to the Bronx.
Well, you know what? The problem is, we talked about the ADD thing the other day. I don't really have a filter. So if I think there's something unjust going on, I'll just run over and, I've got my ass kicked because I saw a guy push a girl and I went over and called him an asshole, and he's 3 times my size. And he is an asshole. People need to tell him he's an asshole.
Okay.
And, because people, and it doesn't matter. You can't always be afraid because some people are just always going to use that to their advantage. Some people will use fear tactics to prevent you from standing up and fighting for what you think, what you believe, what you want. And you have to be careful. Always call the police. Try to be safe. Don't.
That was my next question. Are you? Yeah, call the police. I mean, you obviously doing what you do is a dangerous thing. So.
Right, but at the same time, do the police really need to get called over a middle-aged woman stealing newspaper and mail? Is that something that taxpayers' money really needs to go to? And that's not the thought I was having. I actually asked 3 people to call the cops in the video.
Yeah, you see it.
It's very clear, but I'm not going to be able to maintain control of a criminal, ride my motorcycle while being on hold with the cops. Just today I was or just yesterday, I think. Was it today or yesterday? Yesterday I was on the phone with the 911. There was a guy who came on our property. So I call the cops anytime something weird is going on. So I find it really upsetting that so many people, that one of the number one comments is just call the cops, And
well, yeah, that was one of the things. I mean, a lot of people, which brings me to the skeptics, because there's a lot of skeptics out there.
Well, some people think it was staged.
Well, okay, so there's a lot of skeptics out there, and as such, we want to address some of these things. So the next questions I'm about to ask you are going to be a little bit cutthroat, but don't obviously we've talked to each other. I'd like to think we're kind of buddies now. So,
well, I'm an open book. I say it all the time.
Yeah, I am too, which makes this really interesting. No. Okay, so the questions that come in that are in regards to why you're doing this, they're more skeptical. They're more negative because people want to know how true you really are. And like I said, at the beginning, we want to know. I mean, are you really a good guy biker, or is this just for showing money? So one of the questions is, why do you choose to put your videos online? And is it because of money? So let's just ask it outright. Are you trying to gain money from this? And have you gained any money from this?
Okay, so outright, do I make money from this? Absolutely. Not okay, so one of the videos that makes me money is the thief caught red-handed. That video,
really?
Yes, that video generally makes me, about $50-$70 a month.
Oh, wow.
Just from views and people clicking on the ads and things.
Wow.
The most money I've ever gotten in 1 month was a few $1,000s when things went viral. But over the course of a year, it's absolutely yet less than $8,000. It's exponentially less than that. So it's not a business, and it's not to make a living. But let me put it to you this way: most of the things that we use to make the videos, that money generally comes from people who've donated or people who've
donations,
given us gifts for the channel.
Okay, so it's not really. I mean, I guess it is to make money, but I mean,
I've never ever paid the rent. I've never ever bought groceries. Every single dollar that's ever come out of this has either gone back into it or gone directly to a charity.
Amen to that.
Every single dollar.
All right, and what about fame? I mean, are you doing it for fame?
So my wife's the actress, and she doesn't even care about fame, which is really funny. I think it's YouTube is a platform for my business, my intentions. I think fame is the number one currency today. I think that we'll get to a time where fame will be more important than money and more important than what company you work with or what degree you have. And I know that sounds really sick, but it's kind of the world we live in now, that the opinion setters, the trend setters, the people who have those fan bases, they have the ability to do a lot really quick. You know, think about something with it. Well, then they don't always do good things with it. I want to do really good things with it. Think about a flash mob. You know, these people have these ability to get thousands of people together in a place at a certain time for fun. Well, you know what? Let's make it the flash mob of kindness. Let's blow the pants out of some people. Let's get 200 people showing up to the cancer ward, giving out gifts and spending time with the families. Like, let's take that and use it for some more good. You know, don't get me wrong. There's lots of people who are using these platforms for social activism and for charity.
Yeah, but not all social activism is good. I mean, you look at some of the things like the feminist movement is nuts.
Well, and not just that. We talk about. I just did some free drone production work for the CIBC Run for the Cure, and while it's a great charity, I'm happy to admit that the amount of the woman who's the head of that organization gets $700,000 a year for administrative.
She shouldn't do anything. You know, it's just like the presidency here. I stand behind this when I tell everybody. I think that if you want to run for president, it should be completely voluntary.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Do it for free. Right. Prove to us that you love the country, not the money.
Look at Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
He's got no super PAC. He's an interesting guy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, well, hey, but you know what? The corporations have showed up. I've had sponsors in the past. Previously, we've requested things for the motorcycles and safety features and products from companies. But now we get emails, inquiries, people wanting us to review products or feature products. So, it's, you know, I can see how it happens, right? You know, and I don't want to be reminded that I have to do something for someone for money at the end of this, but if I want to turn this into a job, it isn't there yet. We don't have enough. You have
to make money. There's no way around it. We don't have enough
support. Right. And come on, you guys love the hoverboards. How cool is that? Having hoverboards in our vlogs. Yeah, that's wicked.
Well, send me one. No, just...
Hey, we got a contest coming up. You can totally win one. We can make that happen.
Dude, no, I'll end up on the ground on my ass. Yeah, you don't want...
Well, yeah. We can profit from. That I'm happy to profit from.
Yeah, I'll videotape it for you.
Yeah. All right, so, we wanted to touch on some of your videos. Take, for example, breaking into the modern safe, hijacking radio signals. Yeah, you have another one, hijacking radio signals. Okay, while innocent in nature, couldn't these be misconstrued as giving bad ideas that would... that the world, is it good or bad? I mean, stop and think about it for a minute. I mean, you are a figurehead, you are a leader. No, you're not like Johnny Depp famous, okay? But you still
do have an influence.
Yes, you have an influence on people, and the question I have for you is, do you think that's wise to do, is to put stuff like that up?
Okay, well, the reason I've got hundreds of these technical, most of my hacking videos pertain to doing things like unlocking your cell phone or fixing your broken computer or Xbox.
Yeah, maybe you could help me fix some things around here. No.
Oh, absolutely. I had a repair shop for a year and a half, and if it plugs in, I can fix it. But I'm also for the unlocking and the awareness to people in general. Don't think that a criminal who wants to break into a safe can't find this information very readily. These are things that, lots of people have things that break, and lots of people want to unlock their phone, and lots of people don't want to have to pay $100 for video games for their kid. you know, I want to show people that you can do that, because this is something I've always found very interesting in my life. The main thing I want to change here is security as a whole. By making more people aware of how easy things are to break, how cheap things are, how unsafe things really are, then the companies might actually start doing things to prevent it. Now, I can still walk over to a pop machine and reprogram it with button combinations 1 3 2 4 4 2 3 1, and you can change all the prices of the pops. For example, a lot of devices you can simply plug in a USB adapter, the gas pumps. So I've actually done a video of how to reprogram the gas pumps, changing the firmware on them, redirecting the transit numbers. So all you got to do is bend that little aluminum. If you guys ever see a gas pump with bent aluminum where the case is open, all I got to do is stick a USB stick in there with a little file on there that looks like the firmware update, and everything's going to change within 30 seconds, and nobody knows. And it took me 2 seconds to do the gas pumps, and now that company's getting robbed, your account's getting robbed, and no one's the wiser. Here's a really simple...
I see what you're doing. You're doing it to stop the companies.
Make a freaking adapter that only the engineers have. Why is it a USB plug? You know, put a safety plug on the end of the things so that it can't plug. A USB plug can't plug into it. You got to have this adapter, and then only give your engineer. It's like a $2 fix, but they don't care. You know, we do a lot of corporate security stuff, and I do a lot of securing networks and infrastructure and setting up tunnels and servers for people. And security is an onion that the consumer market does not want to talk about, and the commercial market is afraid of, because the consumers are just like, no, I don't care. I'm not important enough. And the commercial market are just like, how far is this going to go? Security is an onion, and you can always peel back more layers, but it's forever. There's endless amounts of layers. So, hopefully, by bringing this to the masses, we make some change.
Yeah, I see what you're doing. All right, because the motivation was a little weird. I'm like, why are you making videos on how to break into safes all the while?
I specifically went and grabbed that from 4 years ago. I've got hundreds of them sitting here.
Yeah. All right, okay, so in today's society, some people say it's a risk to help other people out.
Certainly.
Yeah, now, what about, and here's an example, have you heard of Alexian Lean? I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but it took place on September 29th, 2013 in New York City. There was a huge altercation between a bunch of motorcyclists and him. They scared the hell out of him. He had his wife in the car and his 6-year-old daughter. And they drug him out of the car. They beat the living crap out of him. And all the while, there was an undercover cop mixed in with that the entire time. And I'm really surprised that the cop didn't do anything, because usually him just saying, hey, I'm a cop, blowing his cover, saving somebody, you know, but they were more concerned about themselves.
So I have I first will say, so I have just a flip perspective of that. So while helping people can be, I think on your question of helping people being dangerous, something a little more grounded would be someone drowning, or someone who's been in a car accident just recently.
That could be just as dangerous too. I mean, the car can explode.
The car that flipped, and they took the driver outside of the car. And now the police here in Vancouver are putting tons of promotional material out about, and these guys are not good guys. Well, what they did was good. They helped this guy. They could have very much hurt him. Do not move people from cars unless you're a professional. And yeah, is that going to stop me from running into a burning house or pulling someone out of a car? Probably not. But because I do that, I could very much get sued. You know, you take the life. The second you touch them,
you were touching on exactly what I was going to say. Is okay. Right. So I did a lot of paramedic training a couple of years back, and one of my partners who became, went full on, became paramedic. He was driving through L.A. and he saw a car on fire on the side of the road. He full on paramedic. So he stopped to help her get out of the car, right? Well, he found out that she couldn't move, and she was, like, her back was... He couldn't tell her back was broken or anything. And anyway, he pulled her out of the car to save her life. She ended up in a wheelchair, and she turned around and sued him, even with his medical degrees and getting the backing by the state. He was,
and she would have burned alive.
Yeah, she would have burned alive. She still turned around and sued him. The city let her sue him, too. So
but don't let that stop you. That can't be, that is the one off. And I need to stress that. People help people every single day, and nobody sues each other. Yeah. Okay? Some people are into it for the wrong reasons. And maybe in her life, people told her that she would have walked if only they had waited 5 more minutes for the firemen. And if someone had told me that, I'd be pretty pissed too. We don't necessarily know everything about all these stories we hear. We always make assumptions, and then we base very loud opinions on those assumptions. But don't let that stop you from being don't let the lawyers stop you from being a good person. Oh my God. What a horrible world we would live in if that was the case.
I think it's the money. Honestly, I think the money, people get scared when they realize they're going to lose their financial backings or resources. It could even be moral, but I think people are scared of courts and the way the laws are all written. I mean, I wouldn't, I'm one of those people. I'm kind of like you. If I see someone hurt on the side of the road, I end up helping them. In fact, I had an altercation in a Walgreens out here. It's like a pharmacy. And this is at the height of all this, black and whites are fighting each other left and right around here. Don't ask me why. Well, anyway, I walked into the store, and this guy, he flat out started yelling at this 65-year-old white old lady. And I turned around and said, "Is that how your mama raised you?"
Yeah.
And, I don't even want to get started with what ended up happening. He's, "I'm going to kick your ass." He's going on about how he's going to hurt me, right? And I'm like, "You go ahead and go outside. I'm just going to call the police. You have a good day."
Well,
right?
Just a few weeks ago, I was at Walmart, and we have a large population in Vancouver that's brand new to the country, and they actually just arrested someone who's been making fake driver's licenses and passports for thousands of people here in the city. So, unfortunately, particularly with the Chinese population, there's a lot of people who come here and then they drive without ever writing a test. So there's a very famous site called Richmond Learns to Park, and it's basically you take photos of people who are just being generally dicks, parking, in handicapped spaces or on double yellow lines, or people who've driven their car into variety stores. And there was a woman who was parked at the time. We were using the handicap parking pass because I could barely even walk. I was just walking 2 weeks at that point. And she parked in the handicap spot in front of us, and we didn't say anything about it. We drove around and found somewhere else, farther down. And as I was leaving, I took a photo. I walked over and just took a snapshot of her in the spot. And I was going to put it up on Richmond Learns to Park. And is that douchey? I guess it kind of is. But quickly, she realized she asked me what I was doing. I said, that spot's for handicapped people. But a young man, an older man and his wife walking by, actually, she was half out of the spot, and he opened her door and said, "Don't listen to that asshole, just park." And then he came over to me and said, "We're not living under Stalin's rule. This isn't a dictator society. Let the lady park where she wants." And I just couldn't believe that this guy, because is it the Edwin argument, that the lowest form of argument is when you start referring to things as Nazism or Nazis? Every argument will eventually, and it's a professor of Harvard actually did this. I should pull it up, but the theory is basically if you let any argument go on long enough, it will eventually be one party will refer to the other party as a Nazi. The fact that this grown man went right to that lowest point of argument, because what does handicapped parking have to do with the Nazi regime? There's no correlation there at all.
Yeah, that's a little extreme.
Right, and so that was his. So I just had to have some fun with this guy. I couldn't let this slide. So I said, "Oh yeah, so what about that guy who was born without legs, a paraplegic? And has spent his whole life with an inability to walk, and you feel entitled to take that from him?" And this guy followed me into Walmart talking about how he's going to fight me, and I put my forehead against his, and I kept daring him. He kept saying things like, "You want another broken arm there, son? I dare you, man." And this is over handicap parking. So I understand. I've been in those moments that you've just had there many times as well. And I think a lot of people have. I just think if more people shared them.
Well, I was surprised at how many guys. There was like 4 guys in there, right? And all 4 guys inside this pharmacy, they were all like bodybuilders. It was insane. They're like, I mean, I'm by far not a huge guy, but all these guys were way bigger than me, and not one of them stepped up and said anything. I was, seriously? You
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, and it's we had an experience on a SkyTrain where it was the SkyTrain, sorry, the train system here, the transit in Vancouver, the subways. A young girl, probably about 16 years old, brought her bicycle onto the train, which is completely allowed. It's discouraged during rush hour, but completely allowed. And there's actually bike racks in the two middle trains where you can put the bike so it doesn't move around. There's this, I'd say he was about 60, 65 years old, just older gentleman, crosses his arms, and he's standing there, and he's, licking his lips, and he's looking off, pissed off, and 8 other people moved for this young lady, but he won't move. He's right in front of where the wheel goes. And it says, bike parking, please, please move for bicycles, right there. And she's almost crying because she's bumping into people moving with the train. I could see her getting more and more stressed out about this. Nobody else was bothered, but she felt really upset. So I finally said, hey, man, why don't you move? And he said, excuse me? And I said, you're standing in front of the bike spot. That young lady's trying to park her bike. And he stomped his foot and said, you know what? Bikes aren't allowed on the trains during rush hour, so I don't care. And I stood up and I said, listen here, asshole. You're the only person out of the 200 people on this train that care about this lady's bike. Why don't you do us all a favor and move so she can put it where she's supposed to? And the entire train broke into clapping. And he was like shaking. He was getting ready to, go fisticuffs with me, old boot camp styles. And he had his war ring on. He was talking about being in the service and how he was going to beat the shit out of me. And the whole train's clapping. And he realized very quickly that he was wrong. And that's usually diffuses situations. But if you don't get that reaction from the crowd, it just keeps escalating. And that's the problem with being the good guy sometimes, is that, like you said, it just escalates. That guy could have beat the crap out of you. And he could have snapped the very first thing you said to him. Hey, man, would your mama like that? He could have turned around and stabbed you.
Yeah, and you don't know. I mean, that's another thing. You don't know. It doesn't have to be the size. I mean, these people can do pretty much anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it certainly can be dangerous, but I again, those are the one-off situations.
Yeah.
I think that if you just be the person, you will inspire enough people around you to prevent it from going really south, really, most of the time.
So
and if you don't feel safe, call the cops.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always the best route if you're not certain, I'd imagine. So, So is there anything else that you want to add right now to anyone that's listening that needs help of any kind? What would you tell them?
Well, first off, try to keep the positivity front and foremost. No matter what is going on in your life, if you reach out, you will find people that can help you. If there's anything any of us can do, you just feel free to contact me at our channel. If you think you're alone in anything that you're going through, know that you're not. Know that there's many other people who've experienced and successfully gone through the things you've experienced. And maybe you can find inspiration and thought-provoking argument and education from their experiences. So I think the number one thing you can do is seek out community. There's lots of communities online. Humanastory is a great example of one. The Good Guy Biker is another example. Find what speaks to you, what energizes you to be a force of goodness, and then use those places to motivate you and others. And if we all do a little more of that, if we all just do, go and like a bunch of people's posts on Facebook, go pat some people on the back, go help an old lady carry her bags to the grocery car. All those things will make this place better. And it's so
tell
simple.
us about your sites online. You just mentioned communities. Tell us about your sites online.
We're working on goodguybiker.com, but primarily we're youtube.com/motorcyclesvancouver and facebook.com/goodguybiker.
Why didn't you just do MV?
Well, we've got the Motorcycles Vancouver channel as well, but no, MV was taken. I got them all. Don't worry. I've got like 15 versions of every website. We got lots coming. We're even working on I'll mention this quickly. We're even working on a Kickstarter that is a sponsorship-based website where you share stories of acts of kindness, and then the prizes will go out to those people, and you will also get points for sharing those stories. And it's going to be a community where kindness kind of is the points that make you level up.
We'll win that real quick. I'll send you the book of all of our submissions.
I love it. Get a hold of everybody. So, lots more coming from the Good Guy Biker. Hey, Brian, I really appreciate your time tonight.
Yeah, definitely. Is there anything else you want to add? Any final words for our viewers? I was going to hit you up with a lot more, but you're a pretty cool guy. We enjoyed your company here. We went over my half-hour limit. I tend to do that. I give up on this half-hour limit thing. It always ends up being 2 hours.
If you guys have a story to share and you think you can inspire other people, bring it to Brian and bring it to everybody else around you and go do some good. We can all do that. It's really simple.
Oh, I did have one other question. What happened yesterday?
Keep coming. No worries.
What happened yesterday?
Oh, the 911.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, I was watching that log today. And
so I was
almost forgot about that question.
911. So again, someone came on our property, and here in Canada, and especially in BC Hydro is the electricity company, the provider of our electricity here in Vancouver. I know a lot of people were wondering about that on some of the other websites. I had someone come onto the property today, and they tried to open the back gate, and I went running out, and I accosted them, and they claimed to be with the electrical company, that they were scanning the meters. And just his uniform was generic. He was a little young, kind of looked like a troublemaker. So I didn't trust it at first. So I went over to my hand clinic, and then I spoke very quickly to the specialist there, and she had mentioned that something similar had happened to her. And then when they called, they had said all the systems were wireless now, the smart meters. So I called BC Hydro and confirmed that our meter was in fact wireless and that there is in fact no reason for anyone to be on our property scanning the systems. And he was a criminal, so we had to call 911. My wife wasn't answering her phone, which panicked me, and they came by the house to make sure she was there. I haven't heard back from them. They were trying to find the guy, but you can't trust everybody. He was certainly doing something malicious. I think he was just looking for someone to break into, testing backyards. Yeah, and
all right. So, guys, you're listening to Alex Hillman. Guys and gals, I should say that before I get a bunch of women yelling at me.
That's right.
I don't want that anymore. So, anymore. No more. Anyway. All right, so you're listening to Alex Hillman, the Good Guy Biker. He's all the way out in Canada. Lucky him, I have ways of communicating with people outside the United States. I don't know why anyone else doesn't live in the United States, but that's all right. That's all right. They can live there. All right, so anyway, you guys can go ahead and this is the Good Guy Biker again. If you have stories to share, anything that you feel that you've experienced in life that you want to share with somebody else and give them hope and inspiration, feel free to go to our website at humanastory.com. And no, I'm not Ray Romano, so I'm just going to point that out ahead of time because I know a lot of people ask that question, and I'm not Kermit the Frog. So let's just get it in the air, let it out, guys. Okay. So again, go to humanastory.com. Feel free to submit your story today. Again, your story might help inspire someone else. And not just inspire someone else, but change someone else who's been in your shoes in your experience or is just beginning your experience, your life. Alex, you're an awesome guy. We're going to give you a copy of this tape, obviously, so you can put it up on your YouTube channel. You can do whatever you want with it. I don't put the interviews up on the YouTube channels. I let you guys do that because, I'm not into the whole I want the money thing. I mean, it'd be great if somebody sent me $1 million, but that ain't going to happen. Who knows?
The coffee money's nice, right? Some coffee money. We'll start
you saw my donation? The coffee donation? Anyway,
thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks for the interview, and I'll leave you with this. If you guys have anything more to ask that you didn't that you want to, check it out.
We'll hit you up in an interview.
Hit us up and make sure you subscribe to the channels, guys. That's great motivation for the Good Guy Biker.
That's it. All right, guys. Yep.
Humanastory is the story of humanity, one person at a time. We believe each person has a story to tell, and each story shapes that person into who they are today. Collectively, and more importantly, each and every person's story shapes this little blue rock we call home. We are all together whether we like it or not. We also believe that your unique story might just help someone else traveling down your pathway in life. You might be their guide through this rough time. We are always looking for more exciting stories to share with the world. If you've got one, come share it with us today.